Welcome to the Russian Leg Sweep, live from the Ashtray, the interview series. On tonight's episode, the Necro Butcher. What's going on, everybody? It's Mike.
Morgan.
Mikey.
We're the Russian Leg Sweep, and tonight we had a really special interview. This is the first in our Live from the Ashtray interview series. We have the godfather of deathmatch wrestling, the Necro Butcher, the man from goddamn West Virginia. He, father of 6, cancer survivor, satellite TV enthusiast. Just a really neat guy. He's got an incredible story. Give us a listen. This is pretty exciting stuff. You guys got anything else you want to add to the intro?
I would say just buckle up and get ready for an inspirational story that you might not expect.
Yeah. You're definitely not. You're not ready for the level of wholesomeness that's coming your way. Anyway, enjoy this. Well, let's just dive into it. How did you get started wrestling?
Oh boy. I was in the Army in the early 90s, and I was a big fan, obviously. Of course, I was a huge fan. I had never seen, satellite TV before, and back then this was before, direct TV or Dish Network, and satellite TV was this big dish in your yard that rotated.
Yeah.
I was just a poor kid from West Virginia, and although the Army didn't pay that well, it was a heck of a lot of money for me. So what does anybody do? They buy, toys they don't need.
Yeah.
And I bought a big satellite system, and I found out I could watch, all kind of stuff, including all kinds of different wrestling. I mean, I could watch Memphis stuff. I could watch, I think there was like 9 hours of Lucha Libre on every week. This was back before wrestling was on every night. There was, there was ESPN and TBS, and WWF had an hour of syndicated TV, and that was about it. But on satellite, there was every stuff from New Jersey and ECW, well, it was still Eastern Championship Wrestling and Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and all kind of great stuff to watch. And I never learned about the internet before I was in the Army either. So combining wrestling and the internet, I started trading tapes online, and I was trading tapes with some guys that were training at the Sportatorium in Dallas. That's where I was at when the Army at that time was Texas. And just, these guys, at the time I was getting weekly All Japan TV and New Japan TV. And so guys in Dallas wanted these Japanese tapes. Okay. So I just, became friends with guys that were training, and I was in the Army and I was paying the bills. I wasn't trying to get into wrestling, but I thought, well, this will be pretty neat. I'll go up there and meet the wrestlers and stuff like that, and I never thought it would ever turn into anything. It was just, I was in a real wrestling ring with real wrestlers, learning real, techniques and stuff like that, and it just blew up on me. And things started going real fast, and the next thing you know, I had a match, and next thing you know, I won a match, and then next thing you know, I was, going out of state, and the next thing I know, I was going out of the country, and I just never expected any of it to happen the way it did.
That's pretty great. It's really nice how everything got laid out in front of you from the Army to the satellite TV to the tape. I mean, it's a solid path, and it's pretty good.
Back then, if you weren't, I was a smaller kid in school, so if you weren't 200 pounds back then, if you weren't 220, you were a referee. So I didn't think I was. For one thing, I didn't hit the growth spurt till after I got out of high school, but I never even dreamed about, becoming an active competitor. But I was a fan, and I learned you used to read the magazines, and I'd study up on the guys and where they'd been, and, the championship histories of the various organizations, and learn the names of the moves and the names of the reversals and all that, and just was just a fan, just a plain and simple fan who loved it. And I don't ever remember, like when my favorite wrestler might lose a match, it never dawned on me, well, I should just complain about this match and complain about this product and say this show sucks, and I'm going to tell all my friends, I just wanted my favorite wrestler to get a rematch.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the so-and-so doesn't know what they're doing, and some guy loses a match on TV, that means he's getting, they're jobbing him out. He's getting jobbed. Like, they're burying so-and-so. Well, they're not burying anybody because nobody getting buried is on TV.
Right.
But it's just different time now, I guess. The social media gives voices to people who didn't have a voice before.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. It's a strange part of the culture now because, like, I remember when everything was, because that's when I came up too. Like, my grandpa had a satellite TV. It's really crazy that I haven't even thought about that. Like, that's how I found sumo wrestling. So I mean, it was all out there, and then like the wrestling periodicals like World of Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Illustrated and stuff like that. That's where you got all your like secret news, and now it's just you can't keep anything a secret now.
Yeah, and that stuff was still like a couple months behind, but you didn't know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they might go over who won the big matches on TV, but as far as the complete card results, you'd have to wait till a magazine for a month or two.
Right.
To find out who won all the matches and how and what and why and all that,
And nobody's getting upset about who's getting buried and whatnot.
No.
It steals from the fun, man. As we're researching today and the past week, actually, I saw you're a big baseball guy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I was never really good at baseball. I got into. I was a big fan of wrestling and baseball as a kid, but I got into wrestling and I did pretty good for myself, or so I thought. So I kind of became disenfranchised with being a fan of it.
Sure.
But baseball, I've always been terrible. I'm assuming it's my bad vision, but I can appreciate how difficult it is. So the magic has never went away as far as baseball. I've traveled all over the world just to watch games.
Yeah, is there? Something that I got interested in. Listened to another interview you had. You went in Japan. You spent a lot of time in Japan, so like you went to a lot of baseball games in Japan.
Right. Well, I was a big baseball fan as a child, obviously, and as a teenager. But my first wife, I never knew why. I could never have the courage to bring up the conversation. But I mean, she just absolutely hated baseball. I mean, it was to the point of if we were watching a television program, changing the channel during a commercial to look at the score would cause an argument.
Oh man!
So baseball really, I just got away from it until fast forward 5 or 10 years later, I'm staying in Japan for 3 months at a time. At that point. And you're by yourself. You're in you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
But hey, I can take you can take the subway and go down here, and you can watch a baseball game, and who cares? No one talks to you. You can get a beer, and you gotta get a beer in a Japanese baseball game. You just raise your hand. They have the kids with the backpacks full of beer. They walk up and down the steps, and they just look for somebody with their hand raised. And that means you want a beer, and they come up and they have the keg on their back, and they just pour it right up, just the hose dispense right into your cup at your seat. It's great.
That is efficient as hell.
And that's when I really I rediscovered my love for baseball in Japan.
Okay. Back to diving into wrestling now. You were trained by Black Bart?
That is true. That was he was the booker of the company that was at the Sportatorium.
Okay.
And they also did the wrestling school there at the Sportatorium. And I don't know how long that had been the case with either of those situations, but I know when I went there, he was the booker and ran the wrestling school.
Okay. Now, did you start barefoot? Have you always?
No, of course not. That was, I don't know what year it was. I'm guessing it was around 2003 or 4, maybe. I don't know the exact timeline, but I know it was when they were all these the deathmatch guys were making a big deal about doing barefoot this or barefoot that, and I just thought to myself, well, screw it. The gimmick is like a crazy, serial killer, drugged out hillbilly from West Virginia guy, so hillbillies don't wear shoes, so maybe I'll just, take this whole barefoot gimmick over and just do every match barefoot. The traditional fighting footwear of my ancestors, if you will, and that's just what and when you're in the independent circuit, you really have to, the guys in the WWF or other companies like that, when you have a deal in place, you don't have to do that much you're just going to show up and do your job. But when you're an independent wrestler, you really have to present a package to promoters that they want on their show. So I just thought, well, this barefooted, gimmick it'd be something different that I can present to promoters that, promoters, hey, this is part of the act that I'm bringing on my show, this guy that does these, and it was just a marketing decision, and I sure did get myself in some predicaments over the years with it, but I mean, you gotta stick with your guns, and that's the bet I made, so I had to land it. I remember, I guess it was around 2000 and, 6 or 7 or so. I remember it was such a big deal because they let me go barefoot in Japan, because for a while there I was wrestling in barefoot in the States, but they wouldn't let me in Japan.
Okay.
And then one time they said, well, it's your choice. Like, all right, it's my choice. I must be a big enough star now to decide whether or not I have to wear shoes. but if you watch like some of the old, even like when Snuka was barefooted in the States, he would wear boots in Japan. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. They just, and then like we talked about the sumo guys, of course they're all barefooted, but
yeah,
who knows? Yeah, but it was a while before I was allowed to compete barefoot in Japan. It was maybe 3 or 4 years.
Now,
back. The only time I wore boots was over there.
Now, have you always done the Psycho Murderer Hillbilly gimmick, or were you something else before that?
No, that was just something I just kind of I fell into. Back when I started, you didn't decide, what your name was or what, your music was, or you didn't decide what moves you did even.
Okay.
You know, they told you everything, and you better do that or you'd be gone. And so, I was in the Army at the time, and the powers that be in the company there, the sportatorium, they said, well, it's only natural then for you to be a soldier. And I wasn't real excited about that. So, my first match, I competed under my real name and my real rank in the Army, which was private. So I was Private Dylan Summers for 6 or 7 months there, and I obviously wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't really enjoy being in the Army in the first place. I did that because I joined the Army because this was back when minimum wage was a $4.25. I had gotten married when I was 18, had a couple kids, and at $4.25, the job market really wasn't conducive to having anything, in West Virginia. And the Army wasn't something I thought would be fun at all, but they're always hiring. So I joined the Army just to take care of my kids, but I rarely, I enjoyed being around other people, but I didn't enjoy the work or, what I did to get that money at all. So I wasn't really that motivated to incorporate Army into wrestling. And I talked to the guys in the office one time, and I said, look, if you have like a masked wrestler or some sort of, a Russian spy or a ballerina even, or anything you guys have, consider me open to anything. But like I said, it was a different time back then. You weren't supposed to do things like that. You weren't supposed to propose any kind of ideas about yourself, creatively. So they said, well, all right, on the next show, we'll have something different for you. And I thought, well, okay, this is going to be cool. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be awesome. Whatever it is going to be better than being Private Dylan Summers, who I really am. And they said, all right. The time passed, and then the next show came around, and they said, all right, here's your new name. You are no longer Private Dylan Summers. From now on, to this day forward, you are Private Dylan Sanders. that was their way of saying, shut up, kid, do what you're told, So it was Private Dylan Sanders there for a few more shows, and then I had there was these kids in Dallas. Well, they were because that's where Johnny Valentine had settled down. Johnny Valentine settled down in Dallas, Fort Worth, and these kids were renting his ring, and they would just they'd pay Johnny Valentine's guys the agreed upon fee, and the guys would come set the ring up in these kids' yard, and these kids would, goof around, and sometimes they'd even have like a little card, put the matches together for their birthday or whatnot, and then the guys would come get the ring the next day, and that'd be that. Well, when Johnny Valentine got really sick, the guys never came back and got the ring. So these kids had a regulation wrestling ring in their backyard for 6 or 7 months. So they just started like a regular wrestling show, and the weekly NWA show in Dallas was every Friday night. So these kids would run shows on Saturday afternoon, and they could get a lot of the guys that were on the NWA show to come be on their little show, Saturday afternoon on their way out of town to somewhere else and get a little bit of extra money for the road. And there was like a lot of, I saw a lot of guys doing that. think this show, before I contacted him, the opening match was it was Brian Kendrick, but he was Spanky back then. It was Spanky against the American Dragon, who was, Brian Danielson. That was the opening match on the card before I started there. They had a lot of NWA guys would come through there and do stuff, and I thought, well, maybe I can reach out to these guys, and anything they offer me would, at that point I was not wrestling that much. I didn't, wasn't really given the opportunity to express myself very much, and I thought, well, this will be some good ring time, and I'll get polished up and be around some different wrestlers and do some different things, and somebody came up with this idea with the face painting and like the black metal kind of stuff and all that. And like I said, I was just so happy to get away from, reality of Private Dylan Summers now Sanders that, whatever it is, sure, I'll try it. So it was myself and a great big fella named Aaron. Aaron White was his name, and he was Hellhammer, and I was Necro Butcher, and we were the Powers of Darkness. And of course, I didn't think it was going to take off at all, but this was before all that backyard wrestling. They knew even what backyard wrestling was. There was no such terminology even.
Yeah.
But on the second show that I did for these guys, 2020 did a national story on backyard wrestling, and unbeknownst to any of us, came to this show to film it.
Oh, wow.
So then the local NWA affiliate saw me on the news feature. Hey, I want that guy on my show.
Nice.
So I thought, well, wait a minute. Private Dylan Sanders, nobody called him. I was carrying people's bags and driving people to shows, and I'd be lucky to get on the show. But now, wait a minute, now the NWA is on me. Well, so like I said, it just really took off out of nowhere. It wasn't. Necro Butcher was not supposed to be anything other than ring time for Private Dylan Sanders.
Man,
and it just got away from me.
What a crazy set of circumstances.
And I remember
all crazy.
Yeah,
it's still crazy.
Mikey said he remembers the 2020 special.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I was showing off too, so, I went and threw the guy over the fence and started fighting in the neighbor's yard, and the police came and had to find out what was going on, and it was crazy.
Oh, man. As your career progressed, I know you had it seems like you had a pretty cool relationship with the Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, I worked for those guys off and on over 10 years. I think maybe 13 or 14 years, I think I worked for those guys. Yeah, they were great to work for. And that was one aspect I always loved, not just the relaxed atmosphere, but they had a lot of contacts with, guys from the bigger companies. Sure. So you'd be on their shows, and, there'd be WWF guys, the ECW guys, WCW guys. There'd be a very diverse roster. And it's always good. You can't help but get better when you're around better guys.
Absolutely. And that's actually where I discovered you. That's where my personal Necro Butcher experience began, was through gathering tapes and stuff like that. So in particular, there's two incidents or events that happened at Juggalo Championship Wrestling. I mean, did you break your leg in a match there?
That was towards the end. Yeah, but I just took a routine thing I did hundreds of times.
Yeah.
You become immune to the dangers of things.
That was just fresh in my mind because I had not known that, and I saw it today. And I was like, oh man, I got to ask him about that. And then the other thing is kind of famous with Norman Smiley, where you speared him in the eye, and we really we wanted to hear you talk about that.
Oh God, that was, like I said, I talked about the diverse roster. Well, I think this was like a 30-man battle royal with all kinds of names in it, and it was like as everyone was going down to the ring, and there was a certain order they had, deciphered. They wanted everyone to go to the ring in a certain order, whereas the Insane Clown Posse were going to be the last two guys to make their entrance to the ring, obviously. And they had wanted everyone to start fighting. They want everyone to be fighting when their music hit and they came to the ring. Well, for some reason, everyone was just standing around. So it's like there was 30 guys, and in descending order, the Clowns were the last two to come in. Right before them was Sabu. Right before them was Chris Candido, and right before Candido was me. So there's 20 some guys in the ring just standing around.
Oh no!
And Sabu was always pretty tight with the Clowns, so they were a little perturbed as to why nobody was fighting like they were supposed to be. So Sabu comes over, and him and Candido are rubbing my shoulders and slapping me and telling me, all right, man, you got to get out there. The Clowns are pissed. You got to get things going. They want everybody fighting. By the time they get the ring and they're all just standing around, you got to get out there and raise some hell. Oh, God. Being challenged, raising hell is one thing, but being challenged by Sabu and Candido to raise hell, that puts a whole nother responsibility. So the entranceway had these road cones on either side of it, and the ICP guardrail was solid sheet metal. Ring of Honor would do the regular guardrail with thin metal over top of it, but the JCW would have solid metal siding, all the way around.
Okay.
And I thought, well, if I'll take this guardrail, and as I'm coming down the ring, I'll just throw this damn road cone up against the side of the guardrail there. It'll make a big crash, and everyone will look around, then I'll go in the ring, and it'll create a little bit of excitement. But like I said, I hadn't even been wrestling maybe 6 or 7 years. I was still pretty new. So, Sabu and Candido had got me really, really excited. So I missed the guardrail by a good 20 or 30 feet, and the road cone goes all the way over the top rope into the ring. and then it did like this Kennedy magic bullet thing where like hit one guy in the shoulder, went up in the air, made a 90-degree turn, hit somebody else in the chest, and it hit like 3 or 4 guys, and then the final impact was the point of the cone speared Norman Smiley in the eye.
It was a pure miracle.
Yeah, of all the guys in the ring, I couldn't, because sometimes those battle royals would have, like guys that worked in the warehouse that weren't really wrestlers, like, why couldn't this damn thing hit one of them, or hit somebody that I knew even? Why did it have to spear Norman Smiley in the eye? So now I think, God, I have to go in there. The decent thing would have done for me to go in there and profusely apologize to him. But again, I'm green, Sabu and Candido had me all worked up to go in there and get things going. So I just go in there and start waylaying people. I think I threw out maybe 5 or 6 people in 2 minutes, just throwing haymakers and chucking people out of the ring and going crazy, and the guys are holding on to the ropes, saying, "No, not yet." And I'm just pummeling them until they really they fall down and are eliminated. And then some fellow was holding on real tight. He for sure didn't want to fall, so I just began, furiously raining blows down upon him to get him to let go of the ropes and fall to the floor to be eliminated. And as I'm pummeling him, I hear a high-pitched English accent. It said, "Hoovy, help me dump this crazy fucker." and before I knew what happened, I was on my feet on the floor.
They just pushed you right out.
I was standing in the ring punching someone who was leaning over the ropes, and then in less than a second, I was standing on the floor. and Sabu and the clowns and Candido had not even into the ring yet.
Did they keep fighting though?
Everybody kept fighting out of self-defense. So I accomplished the mission, but I think in a span of 2 minutes, I eliminated 5 or 6 people and was eliminated myself.
That's fantastic.
All in like 2 minutes.
Now, something I noticed in your matches, as I've been watching them, it tends to deteriorate to a point where it seems like there's real fists being thrown. And like every time that there's actually, you guys are throwing blows with each other, you always come out on top. People bagged up. Did you do a lot? Is it all from the Army, or have you just always been a scrapper?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily. I've been in. Guys in the Army like to drink. So I wasn't really a big drinker, till I was in the Army either. A lot of it had to do with, my first wife wasn't very keen on moving to Texas. So I was down there for over a year without seeing my wife or kids, so I self-medicated a lot, and you find yourself in the company of other gentlemen who are also self-medicating for that reason or other reasons, and just, sometimes lonely fellows that are overly self-medicating are easily prone to such things, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It just, I guess you can. It seems like you can fight. You're a tough son of a bitch,
Well, my record speaks for itself.
Now, did you go to Ring of Honor sooner, or did you do some tours in Japan before you went into Ring of Honor?
I had been going to Japan for a good while before I went to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor happened when they did that the CZW versus ROH cross promotion.
Okay.
That's how I got into that. And I think the way that went down was, I wasn't involved in it directly in the beginning. Yeah, but there was 2 shows. Like CCW was in the afternoon, and Ring of Honor was in the evening. Both in Philadelphia, different venues. And I think there might have been maybe a Ring of Honor match on the CZW show, and then Chris Hero wrestled the Ring of Honor champion on the Ring of Honor show across town later that night. And Hero they wanted him to bring a few guys, to be like his backup or something like that, for his match. And so I was just like an extra guy, for I was like a member of the Nation of Domination or something, just a guy to sit around.
Well, I mean, that led to, like, you've been in the ring with everybody, man. Like, Bryan Danielson, we talked about before. I know that Seth Rollins, you did a lot of work with.
Yeah.
Couple matches with, like, Samoa Joe, Low Key. Like, who do you have a favorite opponent?
Oh, that's not really. I was really. It wouldn't really be fair for me to even think about something like that because I was so lucky, you know. But then again, for every match that people saw that was really good, I probably had about 40 or 50 that were really bad. When wrestling, I didn't even contemplate getting some other job. But wrestling wasn't my job. So when wrestling is your job, you say yes to a lot of matches you should say no to. Well, they're going to fly me down to Alabama and I'm going to wrestle this 400-pound guy in a bingo hall and he doesn't know what he's doing, stuff like that. And that's where the fisticuffs came into play a lot too, because, if I can't have a wrestling match with you and it looks terrible, I'm just going to beat you up.
Yeah.
And I knew that looked good.
It does.
So that's always, you always had that on standby. But I was really lucky. I got to a lot of tough guys, a lot of good wrestlers, and I think to myself, wow, I only watch the TV show maybe a couple times a year, and I'll turn on the TV show and I'll think, oh my God, these guys used to pick me up and pick me up at the airport and carry my bags to the car for me, and now they're the fucking champion.
Yeah.
But maybe I should, but I just never thought I was ever even good enough to have a match. Like I said, let alone win a match. Let alone be on TV, let alone win on TV, let alone fly here, fly there, the movie stuff. I never expected any of that, so it was really hard for me to take any of it seriously. Because I didn't think I deserved any of it.
It just feels like that's a good life, though, man. Like, you didn't take it too seriously, and you've done some really amazing things, like that not a lot of people have done. Speaking of that, the Wrestler, we all love The Wrestler. It's pretty fun. It's a fun movie. You had a big part in that. I just rewatched that today, actually. For the scene where you and Randy the Ram kind of go back and forth. How did that all come into play?
Well, that was I didn't see originally it wasn't. The producers were a little bit. They weren't very enthusiastic about telling potential investors that the Ram would be portrayed by Mickey Rourke.
Right.
I guess Nicolas Cage had owed the producers a favor. So during the initial publicity tour, they were going around with Nicolas Cage acting as if he was going to be the Ram, because the first person I met in the whole process, the very first person I ever met, not the secretary, not anybody, the first person I met regarding this movie was Nicolas Cage. That's the first guy I talked to.
That's fantastic.
Because he came to, pardon me, oh darn it. There was a Ring of Honor show in Manhattan, and he came and he had a couple people with him, and they talked to me a little bit, and they talked about they were going to make a movie about wrestling, and they wanted to know if I would read for a part in the movie, and this really blew up my ego a lot. But then again, I was the first person they talked to, but then I saw him go to other people in Ring of Honor and say the same exact speech to, and I thought, damn, why in the hell would they want anything to do with me? Looking the way I don't have the Hollywood body, you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't at all on board with even participating in any of this, because like I said, I was taking care of my wife and kids, and if I drive to Detroit or if I drive to part, you're budgeting so much of your time and so much of your resources for money you might get later on down the road. Maybe, who knows when? Maybe, just maybe, if they like you.
Right.
So I wasn't on board to do it at all. But little did I know, the character in the movie had been written with me in mind.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the character I read for was called the Hellbilly Cannibal.
I mean, that makes sense. It was written for you.
Yeah, he was barefooted and he wore jeans and he had a big beard and he had a sack of stuff he hit people with all the time. I guess the writer, his name, I think it was Robert Siegel was his name. He was a former editor at The Onion, the political satire magazine. But he had written the character of the Hellbilly Cannibal into this movie script based upon seeing me at a show, I think, in Long Island. I'm not sure. And then they just had no idea that they would actually find me. You know what I'm saying? So
sure.
I went and read for the part of me. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad that you got it.
Yeah, like what kind of horrible person would be able to be me better than what's going on in that guy's life, where he could do a better job of being me than I could.
What a different movie that would be with Nick Cage.
Well, that's what they told people. But if you think, that was Mickey Rourke's big comeback role.
Yeah.
He didn't really have a whole lot going on at that time.
What was it like working with him?
Well, I mean, we hung out a lot before filming, and I'm not trying to, get too much into detail to get people in trouble, but we hung out. We hung out a lot and did a lot of things before filming started. But when filming started, he was a pretty serious guy.
Right.
He didn't. He quit. But then again, they were. He had to spend a lot more time in makeup than I did and stuff like that. So he had a lot more going on. So I could understand why he was serious. But he was. We would go to shows and he would just sit with me and he'd watch guys, watch how guys put their tape on. And sometimes he would just sit there and put tape on for an hour. Take it off, put it back on, take it off, put it back on. He would just copy what he saw somebody do at a show.
Sure.
And just to try to, get in the routine. And then
the method.
That little dialogue scene we had in the movie, that was all unscripted.
Okay.
That was because that was during a CCW event, and they would do 2 or 3 matches and then film a little bit, then 2 or 3 matches and film a little bit, throughout the night. And some of the matches were taking a while, and all those movie people are getting paid by the hour. So the producers and their director are getting upset because they're just standing around
paying these guys money.
Yeah, they're giving guys money and they're not filming anything. So they say, hey, can you guys just hang out over here by this locker and act like you're talking about the match or something? Well, sure, that's easy. So I just, what I did mentally to bring Sabu into the story again, I talked to the Ram in the movie the way I talked to Sabu in real life.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I just pretended I was talking to Sabu about what we were going to do. And that's how I talked to and they used it. They loved it. They said, that's great. We're going to use all this. Okay, great.
It's so surreal seeing you, even knowing that now, it adds such an extra. You're with the dollar bill stapled to your head, and you're so super polite. It's great. That's fucking awesome, man.
Well, that dialogue is some of my favorite in the whole movie, where you say, "We can do whatever you want. I feel good. I might not look good, but I feel good."
I've said that probably 1,000 times in my life. That's really how I talk to people. You know what I'm saying? That's they think that was totally unscripted. That's just how I talk.
Jumping ahead, I watched today a match you had recently with Schlack. Is that your last match that you've done?
Oh yeah, I can't. Yeah, see, I didn't know. It took me a while to get I've been having trouble breathing for years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just thought it was because I was getting old. You know, and I had a little bit of cirrhosis going on, so I thought, well, you know, I must have something wrong with my liver. This cirrhosis must be worse than what they're telling me. You know, I was having a really hard time doing anything.
Okay.
You know, and I had told him I had tried to cancel a few weeks before. I tried to cancel. So I don't think I can do this, man. I just don't think I could do it. And I thought about it, and I've known Schlack since before he was a wrestler. I've known him when he was only half the size he is now. You know, and just and I said, you know what? Okay, screw it. If it was for anybody else, I won't do it. But I'll find a way. I'll drag myself down there. I'll do the best I can. You know, like it turns out I had cancer. You know, but I wasn't doing real good. You know, and I got even worse than that. You know, I ended up getting down to about 160. It was just really, really bad, and I knew I couldn't have a match, but I thought, well, I can't do a good match, but maybe I can just give these folks something to remember me by. So we just did the things we did, you know, to compensate for my inability to have a good match, you know.
Sure, and then you passed you passed the Choose Death shirt.
Right, like I said, I was just, you know, the physical skills, you know, weren't there anymore.
Yeah.
So you know, it's going to, and especially, you know, with so many of the talented wrestlers that were on that card, you know, it'd be foolish to try to compete with any of them. So we tried to do a little bit of, make more of a moment than a match.
Right.
You know.
Right. And it definitely. I can. The moment was excellent. I think we're all really big Schlack fans as well, and seeing you guys, just the passing of the torch, so to say, or whatever was, I thought it came across really well.
He said he got some people talked to him in Japan about it, so that's good.
Yeah,
wear the shirts and whatnot.
They now with that, how do you feel about being called the Godfather of deathmatch wrestling?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily consider myself, you know, I just, you know, I didn't do this kind of stuff when I started out.
Right.
And it wasn't so much, that was never really my intent. You know, it's just like I said, I was trying to take care of my family, you know, so I say yes to a lot of matches that most people would say no to. And another thing was, you know, I started that, you know, the so-called deathmatch style when I was living in Louisville, working for IWA Mid-South, and I was, you know, an undercard wrestler, you know, both in earning money and place on the card was both very low, and I would see the upper-paid, the well-paid guys and the guys in the upper half of the card, that's what they were doing. So, well, this is where I am, and I want to be successful, so this is what I need to do. And I just started to, you know, gravitate more towards that to find myself in a better financial situation and a better booking situation where I was. And then, like I said, just, you know, my life is it's a life study in how so many of the best decisions in life are ones that are made for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes if left to your own devices, you'll choose incorrectly. But I was just trying to do the best I could where I was, what I was doing. But I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that title, sure. But I just tried to, you know, I was always just trying to do the best I could with whatever chance I got.
Absolutely. Two stories that I wanted to ask you about that I kind of learned over the. One was an airplane story where you did 10 tabs of acid.
Well, I mean, I've done a bunch of acid.
And you like.
I'm famous for doing 30 a few times.
Holy shit.
Well,
the key, I will say I am an expert on acid. I will say I've done an experiment. Damn it, the research is there. There was one summer. I guess it was '99, where I met a fellow who was melting down crystallized LSD in his house. We became good friends. So I really, the thing was, I know how acid works.
okay.
So it's not something. The worst that's going to happen to you is you're going to throw up.
Right.
It's not going to do anything. See, the way acid screws you up is, when your nervous system, the way your nervous system functions is, you can't be sensitive to information all the time. Your nerve cells have to release a little protein before they release information to each other to warn the next nerve cell, hey, some information is coming along.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the drugs and the hallucinogenic drugs, they overload your body, and the fact that this sensory relay system gets overloaded, and your senses get overloaded, and that's how you can see colors or smell numbers or things get confusing. And if you can just keep your wits about you, you can have a hell of a good time, and that's what I always did. And the problem with the drugs in LA that particular time was those damn PWG shows would take forever. Sometimes you wouldn't get out of there until 2 or 3 in the morning.
Sure.
And I had these drugs I wanted to eat. I was waiting to get out of there. Now I finally get back to my hotel room, and it's 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock at night. Might have been between 2 and 4. It's pretty damn late. My flight's at 6. And I thought, this is only 10 hits of acid, and I've done 30, 100 times maybe, so I'll probably have my act together by 6. I'll be just fine. I'll keep my mouth shut. I won't talk to anybody, and I'll just have a really interesting time on the way home, or so I thought. And then I just, I got to the kiosk and to check in, and then I realized that I was in quite a predicament. The kiosk, you just type in this little 6-digit alphanumeric combination that is called your confirmation number, and then out from the kiosk will spit a piece of paper, and that's your boarding pass.
Right.
Well, that's easy. I mean, this is a handwritten piece of paper that I've written. So I'll read this paper, and I'll type in these little 6 numbers, and I'll get my boarding pass, and I'll be on my way. But the information on this paper resembled no language that I'd ever seen before in my life. And then to make matters worse, the letters on the kiosk appeared to be inside of bubbles that were floating about 3 inches above the surface of the screen. And they were bumping into each other and changing around. Sometimes the bubbles would bump into each other and make a new letter that I'd never seen before. It was very, very difficult, but wrestling saved me, because at that time Austin Aries was winning his matches by like football kicking people in the head. So I had this horrible black eye, and my face was all swelled up. So So I just went to the cops, man. I went to the cops at the airport, and I said, I sustained a blow to the head last night, and I'm really not feeling too well. Could you guys get someone to assist me checking into my flight? And they said, certainly.
That's great.
They called someone to check in for me. This person carried my bags to my gate. And I just sat there and waited on my flight, and at that point the interesting flight home did occur, but it seemed quite in peril before I got to the gate. I didn't think I was ever going to make it to that gate. And I had to go and I had to fly to Detroit to wrestle, so I wasn't even going home. I was going from Los Angeles to Detroit to wrestle. And the really funny thing was, or even funnier, I guess, even to make it additionally humorous, this was the same night of the Oscars. So, and that's when they had showed me on the Oscars that year.
This is all the same night?
Yeah. That was when the Pineapple Express guys were wrestling around and stapling down each other and all that during the Oscars.
That was the same night you're on the plane. You're on the plane with on the acid story.
Well, I landed. I got in Detroit, and my mother was watching my kids. And I called my mom to tell her I'd made it to Detroit and asked how the girls were and all that. And he said, "Did you see it?" Mom, you have no idea what I saw last night. What are you talking about? She explained it to me, and I had no idea. I had no idea that was even happening. I had no idea it did happen. And I wasn't even sure, for a while afterwards, I wasn't even sure if my mom had really told me that. That was part of what was really going on. But then, later on, through the magic of YouTube, I was able to witness all the Oscars shenanigans. But that was the same day. Yeah,
that's crazy. And then one other thing that I heard today that I really got a kick out of, you were telling a story about being in Japan. You lived with a prostitute in Japan for a while because you didn't want to stay at the dojo anymore or something like that?
Well, yeah, but I was, in her defense, I was hanging out with her for a while before that. Before I knew that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like we was going out to eat and drinking a lot, and I just, I'm not a big dojo kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? I like to, I like to have a good time. I like to sing. I like to drink. I like to eat. I like to play games. I'm not I don't want to be the champion of exercising.
Sure.
Very good company here.
One of us, my friend.
I'm coming back. I'm staying in the dojo, to save the wrestling company money on a hotel. I'm trying to be a company guy. Sure, I'll stay at the dojo, whatever. I'm coming home from drinking all night at 6 o'clock in the morning, and, there's guys, exercising and slapping each other and all this nonsense, and I wasn't really into all that.
Right.
And we've been hanging out for a while, you know what I'm saying, and I knew she made a bunch of money, but that's not why. That has nothing to do with nothing. I just, it was a girl I was hanging out with all the time, and, she made a decent living. And I was just, through the course of conversation, I was telling her how much I hated staying at the dojo.
Sure.
So she said, well, next time you come back to Japan, just stay with me. Now, granted, I did eventually, grow to love her, but I would have stayed with Satan if it would have, to not be in the dojo. And at this time, I said, I would have said to anybody, but I did. So the next time I went to Japan, I did stay with her. I stayed with her for 3 months. I had a much better time living with her for 3 months than I did at the dojo for 3 months.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure.
That's an entirely different good time.
Yeah. Well, it was great because when I had my bookings she would tell me, she'd write instructions out for me. Go to this station, go 4 stops, get off, get on this train, go 3 stops. And she would make sure, or if she wouldn't send someone with me to escort me, she'd make sure I got all my bookings, and she would go to work at like 2 in the afternoon, and then I would see her again at like 2 in the morning, and she would have, like $10,000. Hey, let's go have a drink. Okay, yeah, great idea. That sounds like an amazing idea. Let's go have a drink. Let's go get something to eat. Okay, sure. Sounds great. And I had my Xbox hooked up in her house, and I had Wi-Fi, so it was great. It was great.
It sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
Like you live the dream life.
Yeah, it is. She actually came and saw me this past February.
Oh, that's great.
When I was really, really sick, she flew herself over here. I was in bed the whole time she was here. I think I took her. This is really bad because I got really sick around the same time the whole world did.
Right.
So I took her to we went to one Penguins game, and I took her to the Andy Warhol Museum. But I was really sick too, and there wasn't a whole lot of entertainment options because of the way things were going.
Yeah.
Not just with my health, but with all this protocol nonsense and all this. So we didn't really get to do a whole much. But she stayed with me for a month. It was nice.
Oh, that's phenomenal, man. That's a good additional detail to that story.
Well, we hadn't seen each other in 15 or 16 years.
Oh, wow.
But she had heard that I was sick, and she looked up some information online and how I wasn't doing real good. And she said, she just wanted to come see me one more time. So
now we saw that you had announced that you were lymphoma free.
Well, that was, I'm thinking that was in August, maybe, I'm thinking, or so.
Okay.
I know I had another PET scan recently, February 1st, and that one showed no active lymphoma whatsoever.
That's great.
On February 1st. But just to get a picture of how sick I was, they said one of my tumors is now, although it's no longer active, it's still enlarged. It's 14 times smaller than it was in July.
Oh, that's great. Is that from...
So there was like a ping pong ball in the middle of my chest. That's why I was having trouble breathing and stuff like that. It was, all these tumors were putting pressure on stuff. And
well, I'm glad that you're feeling better, improving.
oh, dude, I'm up to 260 pounds, man.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Great.
I gained 100 pounds, and get this, I walk at least 4 miles a day. Sometimes I'll walk 5 or 6.
You thinking about hopping back in the ring?
Well, but I still have a port in my chest, though.
Yeah.
I still have this plastic device.
Okay.
So, to be honest, a forearm smash to the chest could kill me.
You got to avoid that.
Yeah, that's not really. It wouldn't be a smart thing to do to put yourself in jeopardy like that, but
absolutely.
I got sick. I was in a bed. I couldn't get out of bed. Walking a few steps down the hallway to piss was a major undertaking. I was using a walker to go piss. Anywhere outside, I had to be in a wheelchair. If I took a shower, I had to go to bed because I'd be so tired from standing up.
Oh, man.
It got really, nothing was working. I was losing my vision. It just was all, man, I was on the way out the door. And then I just kept doing my treatments and doing what the doctor said and letting them poke me and prod me and take this out and take that out. Had a few operations, and I just started to get better. And I just started getting better, and I kept getting better.
I think that's a testament of how tough of a son of a bitch you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got out of the bed and got into that chair And then I was in a chair for a little while, and I got out of the chair, and I started using a walker. And then I got rid of the walker and started using the cane. And then I got rid of the cane, and now I just wobble a little bit. I still wobble a little bit, but the wrestling might have something to do with that.
But you're up and moving. That's phenomenal, man. That's exciting news.
And then as soon as I got my strength up, I thought, well, what do I do with this second chance at life that I got? Do I just want to go back and, fly around the world and smoke dope and wrestle? And is that that's what I did before? Why would I want to go back to that? I really need to do something that matters to somebody besides myself. Yeah. And it took me a while to decide what I wanted to do, but then the answer became so ever abundantly clear. I thought, well, what's going on in the country right now? Where can I go? I'd have no college education. I don't have any specialized skills, other than, what field artillery in the Army. What the heck does that? How does that translate? That's no marketable skills for the civilian world. So I went to work at a nursing home.
Oh, all right.
That's where I work, and I got on Google Maps, and I found the closest apartment to the nursing home that I could afford, and it's exactly 2 miles each way. So every day I get up and walk 2 miles and work at the nursing home, then walk 2 miles home, and by then I'm pretty tired.
Dude, that's so fucking rad. Mikey actually works at a nursing home too.
Yeah, I work at a nursing home.
I took care of my grandmother in her old age, as she died, so she wouldn't have to go to a nursing home. So you could definitely relate with that.
Yeah, I didn't. Everybody's bitching about they want their stimulus money or their COVID relief. Like, I never got any of that stuff. I didn't look for any of that stuff. I got out of bed from being damn near dead, and I didn't look for a handout. I didn't say, well, who can give me this? Who can give me that? I said, what can I do for anybody else? And there's nobody that needs help right now more than the senior citizens, and especially because I live in the People's Republic of Pennsylvania, and they're not even allowed. These people haven't had visitors in a year now.
Yeah.
That's worse than being in jail. If you're in jail, you can at least say, okay, I've been here 6 months, I have 6 more months, or I've been here 5 years, I have 10 more years to go. These people haven't seen their family in a year, and they have no idea if they're ever going to be allowed to see them.
Yeah.
It's just like the Count of Monte Cristo, scratching numbers on the wall, how many days they've been there. And, that's why I love my job so much. Like, so many of these people, they're in bed, and they're in bed for a while, and they ain't going to get out of bed, so they can't really see what I'm doing. I'm the master of tripping over nothing. I'll trip over something to make them laugh when I didn't trip over nothing. You know what I'm saying? They have to stumble, you know what I'm saying? And, I just... help them organize their bookcases or look for a paper they can't find, or they want to get like a snack, or they need ice water, or, their soap bottles empty. There's different levels in the area where I work. There's 4 different levels, so I'm constantly moving, but I have a different routine, for each level of the facility I'm on. But it's just, I'm just like a jester, really. I'm just there to make people smile and be their friend, and I'm lucky enough to get money for this.
Yeah.
They pay me for this. People, nowadays, especially nowadays, I hear it so much more now than I used to, but people really don't understand what a blessing is. Nowadays people think a blessing is, well, God bless me, I'm waiting for my blessing. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm blessed. Waiting on my blessing. Oh, I'm blessed. It's not a reward why God has no reason whatsoever to show you that he loves you by giving you shit.
Sure.
You know, a blessing is an investment. If you look in the Bible of all the guys that received blessings, all the men and women, they got these blessings, and then they had to do something. The blessing is an investment. You know, it's not a reward; it's an investment. I was blessed with, you know, the opportunity, you know, to get up out of that bed and do something with my life. Now, what do I do with that investment? Do I just go around bragging about how blessed I am? No, that's not how it works. That's, you're prostituting the word when you use it like that. I'm using my blessing to walk my ass down to the nursing home and try to be the best friend that I can be to those people when they're on their last part of their journey. You know what I'm saying?
God, that is phenomenal, man. That is a phenomenal way to. That's a unexpected way to end the conversation. It's very inspiring.
It's very inspirational.
Yeah.
Well, God didn't save me by putting me into remission. God saved me by giving me cancer in the first place.
Yeah.
Because that's when I started to look at my life and look at how I interacted with other people and how I thought about other people. And that's why I knew I had to do something when I got my strength. I didn't know what it was. Like, for a while, I was kind of leaning towards, like, Little League coaching or something. That's what I was starting to think about. But then just, you know, like I said, some of the best decisions in life are the ones that are made for you. And I just nursing home, it was like a light bulb. I was like, oh my God, this is where my country needs me. This is where a man of my skills, which are minimal, this is where a man of my skills can go make an actual difference in dozens of people's lives.
Absolutely.
So just paying back the blessing.
Man, thank you so much.
Yeah, this was great.
Well, I hope I wasn't too boring. Like I said, I was about to go into a food coma. I had a giant Philly cheesesteak. I had the electric blanket on. I fumbled around for a radio station to listen to. I was about done for the night.
Well, I'll tell you, man. Climb back into bed, man. Get some rest. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you so
we
much.
can talk to you again sometime.
Okay, sure. Anytime, man. I might give a podcast of mine one of these days. I really need somebody to help me get it started. It's not something I know much about, but I really want to do that route myself too. So maybe we can get together on that sometime.
Yeah, brother,
absolutely.
Yeah, we know some guys. So
Okay, all right. Well, let's get together sometime and figure something out.
all right, brother.
Sounds great.
Thanks so much.
Great talking to you, man.
Yep.
Thank you. Same here, guys.
Yep, take care.
See you later.
All right. Bye.